Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Cramer, joined by my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, there's a few things. For one thing, as you can see, my playoff beard is in full effect. You had to say a couple of things about the $1 hot dog night yesterday, which I did like the promotion. I mean, I personally ate 4 hot dogs, and people are asking how I do like my hot dogs. Personally, mustard, sauerkraut, which I'm surprised they didn't have sauerkraut, which they should have. They messed up on that one, and those those onions and ketchup sauce.
Oh, okay. Wait, Dan. So you said that you like sauerkraut on your hot dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who else likes sauerkraut on their hot dog? My mom.
Yeah, but yeah, they at least they had the spicy mustard. At least they had the spicy mustard, but minus points for them not having for that concession stand not having the kraut.
True. Yeah, I definitely hear you on that. So, all right, that's cool. Yeah, a little window into the dollar hot dog night they had on your birthday. So you must have had a fun night over there at Citi Field as he drops off. But it's okay. We'll get Bo back in a minute. As if you don't know, our own Daniel Bobo Curlin was at the Met game on his birthday on Tuesday night, April 30th, checking out the Mets and the Cubs. The Mets got the win, by the way. Dan was there for dollar hot dog night. You must have had yourself a good time.
Yeah, I did, and as I said, I had 4 hot dogs. Also, I got to say to some Met fans that I feel like they did something that maybe they should have done. There was a guy that was like trying to see how many hot dogs he could eat, and he was drinking beers. And the fans thought it'd be a good idea. Some fans that maybe had a little one too many beers thought it'd be a good idea to throw the hot dogs. Why you had to do that to the poor guy? You're right. The guy, because of that, they thought the guy was like instigating the whole thing. He couldn't be there for the last inning of the game.
They tossed the guy?
Yeah, because he was instigating all the hot dogs they were tossing to him. Like here, they wanted to see how many this guy could eat. I mean, please, did they really have to throw the hot dogs? Like, couldn't have you just passed the hot dogs to the guy? There's nothing wrong to passing to the hot dogs to the guy and the guy eating it. Hand it to them. That's what I would have done. I would have handed the guy a hot dog.
Yeah, that's true.
Move the guy from the ballpark because he was inciting to people, because he was kind of enabling people throwing hot dogs. Right? This is not Philadelphia. Don't stoop to the level of Phillies fans, especially Eagles fans. Don't stoop to that level, fellow Met fans.
Yeah, that's true. Come on, everybody. We're Met fans. We behave ourselves for the most part. So definitely, that's a shame it went down like that. But either way, glad to hear that you had a good time on your birthday. You got a W out there, and you know what, Dan? Let's talk about it. The Mets right off the bat here. We got a lot of playoff action to get to in a little bit, but since we're talking about the Mets at the top, screw it. Let's open up with a little baseball talk. As by the way, right now, as we're recording this live right now, the Mets and the Cubs in those hideous City Connect jerseys, where the Mets look like the Colorado Rockies, by the way. So great job once again, Rob Manfred, on that. The Mets are playing the Cubs. Shota Amanaga, I don't even know how to say his last name, is going against the Mets, but this guy has been incredible so far. So it's really going to be interesting to see him going on the mound tonight, right, Dan?
Yeah, it is. Another one Steve Cohen and a dumpster Dave missed out on.
Yeah, good old dumpster Dave Stearns. You're right about that. But you know what though? I do want to give you know, I do want to give them credit where credit's due. Let's mind you, as a matter of fact, it's only May 1st, so we don't know what's going to happen. But I'm not above saying that I was wrong or I could have been wrong. And, hey, me and you were very tough on the Mets all off season, rightfully so, by the way. And look, the season right now so far, they're 500 team. So there's nothing to really sit here and be like, oh, I was wrong. I didn't think Mets are going to be 500. Who cares about being 500? So it's not that I'm talking about. But I do want to give a lot of credit to this guy, Luis Severino, man. How good has Severino been lately? The Mets starting pitcher who they signed for a one-year deal for $13 million this offseason, which I roundly mocked that the Mets signed him. Look, I thought it was okay that they gave him a one-year deal, kind of like a prove-it contract. But the thing that really bothered me was that they had him penciled in as the number 2 starter. And my big problem with that was that he was one of the worst pitchers in baseball last year. As you can see here, with the 2023 Yankees, he was 4-8 with a 6.65 ERA in 19 starts. That's horrific. Statistically speaking, one of the worst in baseball, if not the worst last year. So far this year, a month into the season, granted, it's only 6 starts, about, a third of what he did last year. But this guy so far has been great. He had that really rough outing a couple of weeks back. I think his first start of the year was a little up and down too. But other than that, 2-2, 2.31 ERA. He was phenomenal for the first 7 innings against the Cubs on Monday night too, by the way, firing 7 no-hit innings until they got one off him in the 8th. But geez, Dan, I mean, look, like I said, if this guy goes out there and win the Cy Young Award this year, I'll be real happy to admit I was wrong. But what a start from Severino, right?
Yeah, what a start. I'm bummed out he didn't get the no hitter, because I would have loved to have seen him get the no hitter and just really bring it to Dave. Say, hey, this guy sure didn't do that when he was with you guys.
That is true. That is true. I was thinking too when that was going on. I was thinking, man, it's kind of like when Doc Gooden ended up on the Yankees in '95 and '96, and or I think it was '96 actually, and he threw the no hitter back. Actually, it's just about the anniversary of that. I think that was May 11th, '96. So we're just coming up on that now. So it reminded me of when Gooden went over to the Yankees and threw the no hitter. I was thinking to myself, gee, we might have an ex-Yankee coming over to us and throw a no-hitter, but unfortunately that was not meant to be. But that might also be a good thing, because I'm telling you right now, I don't know if I could have taken seeing this game being replayed over and over again all off-season and all year in those ugly, ugly City Connect jerseys. I can't take it. What do you think of the jerseys?
I had mixed opinions about it. I mean, I got one just because I want to make sure I had one in my Mets collection, in the Mets history. I want to make sure I had the fit it had, just like I wish I would have remembered, and I regret not doing this back then, getting a Mercury Mets jersey. And I'm actually going to that game. I plan on going to that game. They're giving out a Piazza throwback Mercury Mets jersey that day. They're giving out that day. I want to track down a Mercury Mets hat for my for that. Maybe either an adjustable one, or if I could find a fitted one in my size, I'd want to find a fitted one in my size. By the way, my hat size is 7, just like the train.
There you go.
But yeah, I just like to have that because it's part of the little Mets history. Like I got, just like I also have my throwback '80s Mets jersey, which by the way happens to be one of my favorite Mets jerseys. It's my throwback 86 Mets jerseys, because those were like the first Mets jerseys I knew growing up. When I was introduced to the Mets, those were the jerseys. Plus that, you look at my photo of me with Gary Carter when I was very little. I don't know if you ever saw the photo when I talked about it on Opie and Anthony.
Yeah, I remember seeing that photo.
Yeah. When I was little, you saw me wearing a jersey like that. So I just had to get one back in 2016 the Mets in their uniform rotation, because it was the 30th anniversary of the 1986 Mets. They were wearing those uniforms every Sunday home game that year, so I had to take advantage of and buy one and get one for myself. And
Yeah.
and I actually I actually got one, so that's why you see me sometimes wearing that jersey quite a few times, especially on specific days. Like for example, Daryl Strawberry's number of retirement. I'm going to be wearing that one. You probably also saw me picture wearing that one on. I wore that one on Old Timers Day, which you probably saw in one of my favorite photos I took from Old Timers Day. Is a photo of myself standing next to one of my favorite Met old timers, standing next to the Mets Hall of Fame plaque of Gary Carter, one of my favorite Mets old timers. I thought that was a nice little thing because I wanted to pay tribute to the kid who sadly was no longer with us, and I know definitely would have enthusiastically accepted that invitation if he were alive to Old Timers Day if he were alive today. So I thought that was a nice little tribute to the kid there, to taking a picture there next to his Hall of Fame plaque that time. But yeah, that's one of my favorite throwback Met jerseys. Well, I bought unfortunately my City Connect jersey hasn't arrived yet. I like certain parts of the design, but they messed up color wise. Like integrating certain things like the logo. I liked how the logo, the color, they should have done it a Met color, but the logo, you look at it, it looks like an old New York City subway token.
It does, and I get that, but I also don't like the fact that it says NYC.
Yeah, I did.
Like
I didn't really like that.
You know what I mean?
I would have liked it if it said Queens. Maybe.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Exactly. Maybe they could have integrated part of the subway map. I did like the logo, the subway token design, and I did love that. I haven't posted a picture of it yet, but I'm probably gonna post a picture of it. I bought like a little pin with the logo. I might put it side by side next to a vintage subway token. I have a couple of vintage subway tokens in my collection, including two that I kept from back when they were in circulation. When they replaced the subway tokens that were used from 1986 to 1995, when I was like maybe 13 or something. I saved one, and then the ones they used after that were used from 1995 up until when they introduced the Metro card and phased out the tokens. It was like silver had a pentagon shaped hole in it, which, by the way, people sometimes don't realize why it was in the shape of a pentagon hole. A pentagon is the shape of has five corners. Five corners represent five boroughs. Even though the subway doesn't extend in Staten Island, I thought that was a little interesting design there, the way they chose that specific kind of shape for the hole. But I saved that one also. I even saved one of the blue Metro cards from when they first introduced the Metro cards. I got this special edition Metro card that on the back of it has a thing commemorating the first interleague series with the Mets and the Yankees. And I was at that first. In fact, I was at that first interleague game. Dave Balicki pitching that one hit, that 6-0 shutout. Which, by the way, I still remember the Met fans taking over there, sitting in the upper deck at Old Yankee Stadium. How thrilling of a sight when the Met fans took over the place.
Absolutely, Dan. So, obviously, we have our gripes with the City Connect uniforms, and I hate the fact that they wear them as much as they do this year. I don't understand why they already wore them once this week. Why 2 days later are they wearing the same damn uniform? I'd appreciate seeing the Mets in orange and blue every once in a while. Call me crazy, but I don't want to see the Colorado Rockies every 2 days.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing, I'm surprised. I don't mind the throwback blacks, and I don't mind the alternate blues because I feel like those have connections a little bit to Met colors. The one thing I actually found out why we haven't seen the alternate blues and the alternate blacks yet is because apparently, get this, the company hasn't been able to get the pants part of that uniform sent out. You think a company that's at the forefront of doing this, that's supposed to be at the forefront of doing this on the ball and doing this kind of large operation would have no issue with this. But
And isn't it Nike? Isn't it Nike, right?
Yeah, and you'd think they would be no stranger to distributing stuff to like a major sports team on time. They've been doing this in a lot of this company has been doing this with college sports. They had the NFL contract for quite since I think about the 2012 season. You'd think they would know how to do this by now and have it be a well-oiled operation with very little screw-ups like this.
Yeah. And by the way, Major League Baseball uniforms have never looked worse. The stitching on the back is terrible. It's not individually stitched names anymore. It's like a block they have on there. It all sucks. The jerseys have never been worse.
Yeah, the other thing I have to say, freaking, I don't know why they wait till now to do something with the pants that are almost see-through. You know what it reminded me of? Remember that Riddler show where Mordecai and Rigby accidentally saw Pop's nude? Remember that episode? That's what that reminded me of. That's
I can see that.
What it reminded me of.
It also reminds me of in Seinfeld, when they switched to the cotton uniforms, and then you see the Yankees, that first game, everything worked out great. But then after they washed them that one time, you hear the announcer talking about, and Mattingly just split his pants. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah. I'll never forget when the assistant to the traveling secretary thought that would be a good idea. I'm surprised that guy even approached that idea with Steinbrenner, that assistant to the traveling secretary. I still remember the headlines on the Daily News from when that happened. I actually still have that Daily News from when that happened. I remember seeing this headline. I remember a Yankee fan calling me. I mean, I was watching Mickey, but a Yankee fan called me on the phone and says, "Get a load of this! What happened? Can you believe this? But Channel 11, Mattingly split his pants on live TV." Someone was telling me that Mattingly split his pants on live TV, and I had to look at it. I was just like, "Who the heck thought of this idea? The cotton uniform? Somebody murder that guy."
Yeah, I heard it was this guy Costanza.
Yeah. I heard, and you know the crazy part? They're honoring that Costanza guy with the bobblehead on July. I think the 5th. They're honoring that guy. I'm surprised they're honoring that guy with the bobblehead on the 5th.
Who would have thought, man?
Who knew that the Steinbrenners thought highly of that guy, that they gave him his own bobblehead.
Well, yeah, exactly. But at least the guy they replaced him with, Van Nostrand, worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and remember that guy that went in the stadium wearing a bodysuit? How nuts that was! I
Bodysuit man.
Yeah, I remember a Yankee fan calling me, "Dude, put Channel 11, take a look at this."
Oh, funny stuff, man. Funny stuff. If you know, you know. That's all we got to say. But hey, real quick before we move on from the Mets, I did want to point this out, that we were just talking last week about Mark Vientos hitting the game-winning home run, and he was looking great. Everybody was so happy he's back with the team. He comes up, he goes 3 for 7 over the couple of days he was up here. He hits a game-winning home run, and they send him back down to AAA. What the hell is going on? What does this guy got to do to stay on the main roster?
Yeah, I think they should have kept him, maybe platoon him at third. I think they should have platooned him at third base with Beatty, I thought. At least that's my opinion, what they should have done.
No doubt about it. And even JD Martinez, I'm sure he's going to play most of the time, but he's not going to DH every single game. You could at least throw Vientos in there every once in a while too, right?
Yeah, he probably would have DH once in a while, even though I kind of question mark how often Vientos would be DHing, because I feel like DH, it's a whole different animal with like a JD Martinez DHing, because it's not quite taxing when you're like DHing. So.
Oh yeah, but I'm sure. But what I'm saying is there are plenty of ways that the Mets could get Vientos in the lineup. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be like, they'd only be able to put him in the lineup when they take Beatty out. Vientos has played first base in the minors. You could have him spell Alonso for a day. You could have him go in there if you want to have Beatty against a tough lefty and put him in there. Maybe JD Martinez gets hit by a pitch the day before, or he's not feeling well, and you stick Vientos. So there's plenty of ways that they could get Mark Vientos at bats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Also, I gotta say something about yesterday's bet. I made a bet with one of my social media peeps, Kelly Prisma, who's a Cubs fan, and and she now owes me pizza next time she's in New York at Rosa's for me and a couple of New York peeps. But by the way, you're welcome to join me at Rosa's Pizza for that day. I'm sharing that pizza she owes me. I'm sharing it.
I appreciate that.
Right.
There's nothing like sharing New York pizza.
Yep, New York pizza is best shared with friends, but trust me, trust me, it's big enough I could do that, and trust me, there'll be some pizza shared.
Exactly. There's nothing better than pizza and baseball. Hell of a combo. And before you wrap up on the baseball, speaking of that, we got the playoff stuff we're going to get to a little NFL draft. But first, I did want to talk a little bit about the Yankees, man, because the Yankees, obviously they've been off to a good start this year. They've been getting great play out of Soto. Rodon is set to go tomorrow against Baltimore in a big spot in the series where he's been pitching much better lately. 2-1, 2.84 ERA so far. Oh, I'm sorry, 2.48 ERA so far. So really got to give it up to Rodon for pitching good for the Yankees. Judge has been coming alive lately, but unfortunately things haven't panned out for the Yankees the last 2 days in Baltimore, as the Yankees went out and dropped the first two games, getting shut out on Monday night, losing last night. Now it's scoreless early on there down in Baltimore for Game 3 tonight. So the Yankees really have their backs up against the wall, where they need to get a big win against Baltimore. And realistically, after losing the first two games, they got to get a split. So you got to find a way to win this game tonight, and then have Rodon go out there and split the series tomorrow, right?
Yeah. I knew right off the bat Baltimore was going to be the toughest competition the Yankees were going to face. Like, I somehow saw they looked like they were going to have good pitching that I feel needed to be they needed when facing the upper echelons of teams. And Baltimore.
Oh yeah, man.
And this game is playing out exactly how I had a feeling it was going to happen. And I'm sure the test dog is very happy lately.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And last night the Yankees put a little scare in the Orioles late. The Orioles had a 4-1 lead late, and Juan Soto, I don't know if you saw this, but Juan Soto hit an absolute bomb, the second longest home run. I forget whatever the street is behind the Orioles Stadium, but he hit the second longest home run ever on that street, 447 feet. Just absolutely phenomenal. Soto crushed it, but luckily for the Orioles, though, it was only a solo shot. Yankees ended up losing that game 4-2. But man, they must be pretty happy no one was on base for that bomb.
Yeah, they were happy. But I actually found out something that I never knew until only a couple of years ago about Camden Yards. That street, any balls that land in the street like that, I hear those players get they get like a brick in that street. I heard they get a name in that brick, even visiting teams. Anyone that hits so Juan Soto has just earned a brick in that street.
That's true.
What I heard.
That is true. I've heard that too. That is definitely a true statement, Dan. You're right about that. And Soto joined that infamous club. I'm sure he's hoping to join it again tonight, or at least put another brick out there as the Yankees look to take that one. But so far things are going according to plan for the Yanks. I got to give Aaron Boone credit. This team plays for him. Say what you want. Boone doesn't exactly blow me away as a manager a lot of the time, but man, he's got this team playing great so far, month in, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I just have to give credit to Boone the credit. I feel like he kind of went in this, even though the Yankees, there's a lot of high pressure managing the Yankees. I feel like the Yankees set himself up to handle being a manager, saying that there maybe there wasn't high expectations. Maybe he was brought in to kind of sort of I guess grow with the team.
To be honest, Dan, actually, in a lot of ways, it kind of reminds me of Carlos Mendoza with the Mets right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of feel like they kind of set that up. I feel like it's similar to the way they set it up with Davey Johnson being the manager of the Mets back in the '80s. They wanted him to grow with the team. I feel like the situation they brought in that manager. They figured they wanted to they knew what they were doing. They were putting a team together, and they wanted to have that manager build that repertoire with the team, that to try to really, I guess, grow with the team, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I definitely agree with you on that. I'm still um cautiously skeptical, or kind of skeptical about Mendoza as a manager. But I gotta say, to be honest, it and I don't know. This is I don't know why, but for some reason I was looking at him in the dugout the other day, and they were showing him in his coat, and I'm just saying really based off looks. I'm not really saying about uh his managerial type style, but the way he was looking in the dugout, it kind of reminded me of Joe Torre. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I guess maybe that kind of worked out. I don't know how much Joe Torre was involved in the Yankees organization after his retirement, but maybe he kind of got a little bit when he was an assistant coach under the Yankees and in the Yankees farm system. Maybe he got a little bit of that Yankees lineage. Maybe he learned a little bit about that lineage, and maybe it kind of had an influence on him that it's kind of starting to show a little bit, and that might be a good thing. And like Joe Torre, there was very little expectations with Joe Torre. Yankee fans were scratching their heads when they brought this guy in manager, even though maybe
Yep.
they maybe didn't see it. There was maybe a little bit of that, maybe being able to manage a team there, because Joe Torre had somewhat he did have somewhat experience managing a team that was contending. A lot of people forget about Joe Torre, even though he had some previous managing years that weren't so well. He did manage a Braves team that made the playoffs.
Yeah, he
So,
the first Braves team, in '82, that was the first Braves team that had made the playoffs since they lost the '69 NLCS to the Mets. So you're
yeah,
right,
so
and the Braves had stunk for a long time. Remember, even a couple of years before Joe Torre took that team over, and it was actually a couple of years, but it was for a couple of games. Ted Turner was actually the owner or the manager on field for a game or two of the Atlanta Braves. So that shows how bad they were for a while there. And then Torrey comes in after his rough stint with the Mets and completely turned them around for a year at least.
yeah. I've actually watched a really good. This is back, of course, with CNN maybe had more credibility. I watched a documentary about Ted Turner, who by the way who's pretty much an innovator in history. Like, he changed news coverage throughout the world, creating
Oh yeah,
he created a 24-hour news source. Like a lot of places like the internet and stuff, it was his creation of CNN that changed how news was covered. And they talked a little bit, and even somehow even how he created all these TV channels and stuff. But one of the things they did mention a little bit was his history managing the Braves. How he kind of was like wanted to put the effort into the Braves to win, but he knew it was going to take a while. They mentioned how he kind of did that a little bit, maybe as a thing to sell tickets. He tried managing a couple of games. It probably seemed like something that maybe we've heard people do some things when the team's not doing well. They pulled off all kinds of things to try to sell tickets for the beginning. I think one of the owners of the Chicago White Sox was known for doing a lot of those crazy gimmicks back in the day.
Yeah, well, the White Sox and the Oakland A's were definitely known for that kind of wacky crap.
Yeah,
But
that could,
also the
and then
the National League, the National League actually stepped in and stopped Ted Turner from managing too. They only let him do it for a game or two, and then they said, no, 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 owners can't manage their own teams.
Yeah. It's probably good. It's probably a good thing they did that. Also, and of course, also when we're going to talk about weird gimmicks baseball did, you can't forget the infamous 10 cents beer night in the 70s, which before I even, right as I'm looking into further about how this thing turned out, I says, I bet this thing turned out as horrible as it sounds. I was right on the money.
Yeah, well, 10-cent beer night, that was the same owner in Chicago. You're right, that put together also, if you recall, the famous crazy promotion back then, the Disco Demolition. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I heard about that one. That one also was that like 10 cents beer night. That's you're pretty much setting yourself up for riots, especially if you're saying 10 cents beer night. You're pretty much you're asking for riots if you decide to do a 10 cents beer promotion.
Yeah.
And you know the crazy part is they did a second one.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're interested in what we're talking about, go look up 10-cent beer night and Disco Demolition, and let's see what we're talking about. But just to keep it rolling along here now as we get to the second half of the show, we covered the baseball. Now we're getting to a little playoff hockey and basketball, everybody, as the New York Rangers and the New York Knicks both still alive. We'll start off with the Rangers, Dan, as the Rangers completed the 4-game sweep of the Washington Capitals, 4-2. They beat the Caps in Washington to clinch and move on to the second round. They were the first team to clinch a playoff spot. They were the only team to clinch the President's Trophy for the best league and for the best record in the league, and they were the first team to clinch and advance to the second round of the playoffs. Dan, what did you think about really? I mean, the games were relatively close for the most part, but just absolute domination by the Rangers up and down.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I knew they were going to I just had a feeling they were going to sweep this series. I just knew it, and I was glad. They took care of business there and they needed to get this first round done with quick, and they delivered big time. And I was celebrating. I think Mr. Malunigan was barking, maybe feeding off me. He was pretty much feeding off of me, making a lot of noise. Malunigan, let's face it, you have a dog. They feed off of you. If you're making a lot of noise, they just think you're a dog barking. And they say, oh, you're barking? Oh, you're barking? I'm going to bark too.
Yeah.
I'm sure Murphy was doing that when he was watching the game with you.
Yeah, well, Murphy definitely likes to mimic whatever I'm doing. So when I was jumping up and down and yelling, Murphy was barking his head off too. My Irish setter, if you're not familiar. So yeah, he was definitely pumped up. But Dan, there's a couple of guys that we really got to shine a light on. I mean, obviously the guy everybody wants to talk about is Panarin. He was good, 3 points in 4 games. Kreider, obviously. Zibanejad had 7 points, a goal, 6 assists. Really love what I saw out of Vincent Trocheck too. He was offensively the standout guy to me this series, right?
Yeah. Trocheck had quite some big moments. Like, I feel like this guy, I had a feeling was going to have some big playoff moments. Another one I already in the first round had some big moments. I knew Rempe was going to have a lot of big moments flying under the radar, and I feel like his presence, in a big way, led to the Rangers winning. I feel like he helped keep Tom Wilson in check.
I agree with you, and also not only that, I think that Rempe, there's just a lot of attention on Rempe, so I feel like it distracts the other team because they're concerned with, okay, how are we going to handle Rempe? And when you start thinking about Rempe and you start focusing, how you're going to deal with this guy, Rempe. Let's be honest. I love Rempe, but how much does he play? 7-8 minutes a game most nights? So they came back, completed the series victory over the Islanders in Game 5, 6-3 victory. I was really hoping the Islanders could at least push it to Game 6 just to beat the Hurricanes up a little bit more. But let's be honest, it was pretty much just, delaying the inevitable, because once the Hurricanes won the first 3, you knew it was over. The Islanders think there's a reason why they ended up losing in overtime, 17 times or something like that, 16 times. They're not a very good team, 39-43, whatever their record actually was, not the voodoo NHL record. But I mean, hey, it's it. And to me, Dan, if you ask me, this Rangers Hurricanes matchup is the marquee matchup of the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't wait to see how this goes. I just have a feeling I could see the Rangers winning this game maybe quick at 4 or 5 games. But I could see these games, regardless of how this series goes, however the Rangers win it, there's going to be some close games. I also have to say, big thumbs down to the Hurricanes for being discriminative about their if you're buying tickets direct from the box office. Only residents of the Carolinas are able to buy tickets. A lot of Ranger fans that want to go to the game, and they will show up despite this. There'll be plenty of Ranger fans buying these tickets on resale, and I guess they forgot that there's quite a bit of Ranger fans in the Carolinas. There's also Ranger fans that have friends, relatives in the Carolinas that could be the middle person to buying tickets. They're not going to keep us out. We're going to be in the Broadway. It'll be a Broadway blue invasion in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, I was already looking at tickets actually, and use, if you are a Ranger fan and you are looking to go, use the Game Time app, which, by the way, me and Dan are not getting paid for. I'm just telling you as a public service, because StubHub sometimes can be a little weird with the with the teams, but use the Game Time app, because those ones, there's no connection to the actual team at all, so they can't stop you from buying or selling a ticket to somebody that they don't want you to.
Yeah, exactly. Another one that's good, Tick Pick, which is also that one I like also because they don't have no fees, and I kind of like that. Like literally, if you're seeing a ticket that's being sold for $35, you're paying $35. When you go to checkout, that number is not gonna go up when you get to checkout. If that listing, you scroll down and you see $35, that ticket will be $35.
Yeah, very cool. And what's the name of that again?
That's a Tick Pick. You can download that app.
Another place that's not too cheap is Madison Square Garden, and we're going to the other side of Madison Square Garden. Just talking about the Rangers. Let's finish up the show with a little Knicks talk, as a very, very disappointing Game 5 loss to the Knicks. As you can see, this whole thing, the Knicks end up losing Game 5 at Madison Square Garden. They blew a 96-90 lead with about a minute left in the game. And the whole thing that set this awful, set of, the whole thing that set this into motion was Tyrese Maxey, who, by the way, destroyed the Knicks last night. 46 points, just absolutely unstoppable. But the thing that set it up was he was fouled by Mitchell Robinson, a terrible, unacceptable foul from Mitchell Robinson, who's played well this series. But what?
All I gotta say about this is that, to do an impression of Lemon Grab from Adventure Time, unacceptable.
Exactly.
Unacceptable. Also,
yep.
I gotta say about that game, I was looking at this game on the MSG Plus app while I was at the Met game, and I was like saying, and it took great courage not to smash my phone when I saw how that game turned. That last second ended and went into overtime.
Yes.
Even I was probably extra upset when I'm looking at the overtime, the end of that overtime, on the number 7 train on the return trip.
Yes, and the Mitchell Robinson foul is the thing that set the whole thing up, reminiscent of the Larry Johnson 4-point play from 1999 against the Miami Heat. It was setting Tyree Maxey to the line, and a 4-point play that cut the lead to 97. I'm sorry, it was 96-94. Then the Knicks, who just could not hit free. The combination of the Knicks sucking at free throws and that terrible foul from Mitchell Robinson cost them the game. It's an unacceptable loss. They end up losing 112-106 in overtime. But that's just an unacceptable loss, and that's one of those things where these type of losses come back to haunt you. And not necessarily, okay, maybe the Knicks will come out and still win this series, but let's just say Philadelphia wins Game 6, and then the Knicks have to go out and win a Game 7 just to advance to the next round. You don't want to do that in the first round. We all talked about how important it was for the Rangers to finish off the Capitals quick. Well, look, the 76ers aren't as bad a team as the Washington Capitals, but if you're going to have the if you're going to have the ability, a 6-point lead that late in the game, you cannot blow when you're about to go to the series, the next series, and win in 5. You would have made your journey so much easier if they had just won that game yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. You could have made it so much easier. I can't believe they did this. I cannot tell you. There was a lot of people chanting "fucking Numby" on the 7 train.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Now it sets up for Game 6 Thursday night in Philly. It looks like that game's actually a 9 p.m. start. Couldn't believe that when I saw that. I don't understand why it's so late, but 9 p.m. start.
What the heck is this going on the East Coast? What is this, UFC or boxing? This is basketball on the East Coast. This is not like the UFC on where the West Coast is everything to the UFC and the boxing business. It's not that. We start on East Coast time when it comes to sporting events in the East Coast. Who's
and I can even understand.
Who's responsible?
I can even understand.
Who's doing the national feed of this game? TNT?
I can't even understand when they do that for the NBA Finals. Like I can, because that makes sense. You're playing a West Coast team, the country to watch it. Why would you start a first round Knicks Sixers series at 9 o'clock? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry. You start games no later than 8 o'clock. Especially
on the East, yeah, I agree.
No later than 8 o'clock. I usually prefer 7 o'clock game, but at least no later than 8 o'clock. What the fuck?
It's true.
I'm gonna be tired the next day because these basketball games, especially those last 5 minutes, drag on for a long time. I'm gonna be tired the next day because of this, but hopefully the Knicks better win it to make it worth. But if the Knicks win it, it'll be worth it. If they win, it'll be worth it. That's all I gotta say. If they win, it'll be worth staying up for. Because I'm gonna be tired
well better finish it off in Game 6 because if you take it all the way to Game 7, anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope Knicks fans do the same thing they did before they took over Philadelphia. Do the same thing again. And by the way, if any Knicks fans are going to Philadelphia, one of my favorite Philly cheesesteak places in Philadelphia reopened recently. Jim's in South Street, so definitely stop by there. I'm sure some of you Met fans have heard when the Mets are on the road in Philly, you've heard Gary Cohen talk about this place. It reopened after a couple of years ago. They had a kitchen fire. Glad to see a local business make a comeback. Gotta love when you see these blue collar businesses when they can make a comeback when they've had a setback like this. And do yourself a favor and help. And if you're making a trip and support this local business, at the same time you'll eat some of the best cheesesteaks in that part of the country. And it's one of my personal favorites when I go to Philly. By the way, the Jim's cheesesteaks. By the way, if you go to Philly, You know how they have different cheeses on it. Always go with the cheese whiz, or as they call it over there, whiz. When you go there, that's the kind of cheese you always go with when you're in Philly. The whiz and the onions.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And the one last thing before we get out of here too. One guy who might not be having too many cheese sticks in the future, cheesesteaks in the future, is Joel Embiid. I got a feeling that this is the last couple of games we're going to be seeing him in a Sixers uniform. The way he's been talking, look, game 3, guy was lights out. Guy was absolutely lights out. 51 points, one of the most phenomenal efforts you're ever going to see. He struggled in the fourth quarter of game 4. He wasn't that great in game 5, but also let's give the guy a break because he's also kind of battling a bout with Bell's palsy right now, which is shocking that he can even play. So you got to give him credit for that.
I have to get a credit for that.
Real quick, Dan, just let me finish up real quick. Is that I'm telling you, I think Joel Embiid is finishing up with the Sixers, and the way he's talking, I think Embiid's going to be a Knick.
That would be surprising if he becomes a Knick. We'll write we personally, the both of us, will write a ginormous apology letter if he joins the Knicks. Also, as much as I've been disliked from when he's in the playoffs, I do have to give a lot of credit. I didn't even know this until now, the Bell's palsy thing. I have to give a lot of credit to manage to still, and it's a credit to his ability to still play basketball even in a big spot in big minutes with a condition like that. You gotta kind of give it applaud to that. That is Kurt Schilling type toughness. It's like Kurt Schilling toughness. That's like Michael Jordan when he had the flu, literally closing out his basketball career, or what we thought was going to be his retirement. He made that sort. I guess you could call it a comeback. I'm just gonna write off whatever he did with the Wizards, but he had that. But he pretty much closed out his Hall of Fame career with a big moment to win the NBA Finals, and he had the flu during one of the biggest games of his career. So you got to give credit to that.
But you really can't even compare. Like as much as the flu. Anybody that's had the flu knows how bad that is. Having the flu though is nothing compared to Bell's palsy. Like Bell's palsy is such a strange disease that is really debilitating in a lot of ways, and especially mentally too. It affects people very personally mentally. So the fact that Joel Embiid, if you've noticed why, like there have been times where if Embiid's been laying on the floor or when he's lining up for a free throw, if you'll see his eyes are kind of darting around and they kind of look weird, that's because of the Bell's palsy.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he's doing that, and that's just gotta take a lot during whatever his pregame stuff he has to do to be game ready. When you have a condition like that, when you have an ailment for that, it's got to be a lot to go through just to get ready to be on that court.
Yeah.
I gotta give credit to that. And like I said, Joel Embiid, you come to the Knicks, both of us will write a ginormous apology letter.
Well, hey, me and you weren't the ones booing him at Madison Square Garden, unlike a lot of the Knicks fans were. But hey, I gotta also say too that he took that in stride, and he even said how he has a place in New York and how he loves New York. So for me, and he was also talking about, if you saw earlier in the series, how the Knicks fans really showed up in Philadelphia. To me, it feels like he's cashing his chips and getting the heck out of Philly. And he's said nothing but nice things about the Knicks in New York so far. So maybe he wants to come here. And hey, as much as we want to beat you in this first round series, Joel, we'll take you on the Knicks next year, buddy.
Yep, exactly. And you'd be welcome to come on our show We'll
Absolutely.
we'll even buy you a couple slices of pizza if you want.
You got that right. You could get in on a couple of those slices with us that you were talking about earlier before. So yeah, Joel Embiid, definitely got to give credit where credit's due, just like you said. So a lot of that's tough act right there, tough act. So yeah, definitely, Dan. I think that's just about going to do it for us today. We didn't get into any of the NFL draft talk, but you know what? I figured there's a lot to get into anyway. We could always get into that next week, or maybe we'll do a bonus show somewhere along the line. But we'll talk about it. So let us know if you want to hear our thoughts on the NFL draft. We'll definitely be getting into that soon. But other than that, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in for our weekly show. As always, we appreciate the support that everybody who tunes in every week gives us. We appreciate everybody that reaches out on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else. So, Dan, before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure, I gotta mention, of course, my Twitter handle, Bobo103NYC, Instagram, Bobo718DK. That's also my Twitter, my handle on Threads. Also, I got Twitter. It's one word, Daniel Curlin. There's gonna be plenty of videos of that. There'll be videos of that of us. We got to figure out a time you could come. Maybe you could come out to Donovan to watch a playoff game with me. Also, of course, if the Knicks or the Rangers, or maybe when both it happens that they're 1 win away from a championship, we're gonna be filming we're gonna try to film a live stream with the cameras on us at Donovan's, hearing all the celebrating and what it sounds like in the background. You know, a nice, maybe it'll be more like a second screen thing that you'll be able to pair up. You know, you'll have the screen of us, and you'll have the game on TV, so you could. I mean, you'll have to watch the game on TV though to really get a grasp of what we're talking about. But it'll pair up nicely that you'll be able to see how we're reacting to the game, and it'll be like the first YouTube live we've done, and it's just something that you got to see. You have to see our reactions to it. We have to be together in the same place for that. And you will see that on my YouTube. Also, any other videos you see on my YouTube, Patreon subscribers, another reason to subscribe to our Patreon, you guys get early access to my YouTube videos. You also get Tracks I Admitted. I'm going to be doing maybe an XL version today of Tracks I Admitted, but because I have a couple of races to talk about, because I was like doing so much stuff in between all the games watching and everything in the show that I didn't have time to put together some Tracks I Admitted. So I'll be talking about maybe 3 races that happened. Bear with me on this one. So it'll be a little bit of a one-time only extended cut. But other than that, you see Tracks I Admitted each week. Also, if you do see me attend a race this year, I'll probably film a Tracks I Admitted at the track, which I would love to do a Tracks I Admitted from the track. Literally, Tracks I Admitted one day. One of these days, you'll get to see that.
Exactly. We'll be having all that in the future. So if you want to get any of that, please be sure. Patreon.com/Best Eaten House Podcast. Only $5 a month. We appreciate the support of all of our subscribers out there. So tell your friends. Thank you for the support. And yeah, you can check me out on Twitter at my last name, Cramer NY. Don't forget our Twitter account for the show, BSith_podcast. And we're also on Instagram, Best Eaten House Podcast. If you want to check us out on Best Eaten House Podcast. So I want to thank everybody, as always, for tuning in and checking out the show. Yeah?
Oh, yeah, and by the way, one more thing. I want to say hi to one of our Patreon subscribers who's really nice to us. Actually has talked to us. I gotta say hi to Bree, one of our Patreon subscribers. Very funny lady. We've gotten to know personally. Loves our show. She has been very supportive of our show. So gotta say hi to Bree. So hi Bree. Glad to see, and thank you for supporting our show.
Shout out to Bree. Thank you for the support. As always, Bree is definitely one of our big fans. We appreciate that. Also, shout out to a couple other people like Disabled Officer and the great Stevie Lou. So I want to thank everybody who always tunes in and catches all of our stuff on there. So thank you so much to everybody for the support. Please, if you want to help us and subscribe, we're on patreon.com/Best Eaten House Podcast. That's going to do it for this week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in as always. I'm your host, Rob Kramer. This is my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin, and we'll catch you on Sunday on Patreon, but right back here on Patreon next week. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.